What's going on, Colts Nation? I appreciate you joining me today. And today we're going to have a conversation about free agency and about Michael Pittman Jr. and Chris Ballard having his press conference at the combine and what he had to say about the situation. And honestly, he didn't say a whole lot, but in what he said kind of confirms everything that everybody's been talking about this whole time with this whole situation. So we're going to go ahead, listen to a couple of little tidbits here, and then we'll react to them.
Here's what I tell you. We've had talks with his agent, who's really good. His agent's been doing it a long time. He's really good at what he does. We'll work hard to get a deal done. It's a tool we have. I'm not going to say we're not going to use it, but I'm not going to say we are. Hopefully we can come to an agreement and find some compromise on a deal.
So with Ballard saying that, with him saying, the franchise tag is a tool that we don't want to use, but we will if we have to, but they're going to continue working towards a deal. So it sounds like one way or another, Michael Pittman Jr. will be back on the Colts. That's what everybody's talking about, is Michael Pittman Jr. is going to be on the Colts, whether it's through the tag or through a new deal. They're still trying to work through that and trying to come up with the right numbers. And like he said, trying to come up with a compromise for both sides that works and that they can go forward with. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully Michael Pittman Jr. is able to get that deal. And I feel like there's a better chance that not that's going to happen because of what else Chris Ballard had to say here.
Like you pay good players. Like I don't, you pay good players and each team chooses to do that. I can't give you what other teams are going to do. I know what we did. We like our guy. We like Jonathan. We end up working out. No, I think our history's shown. I mean, we want to keep our guy. I mean, look, always the preference is take care of your own people first.
So right there, he's answering two different questions that were more about Jonathan Taylor, kind of how that Jonathan Taylor situation can link to the Michael Pittman Jr. situation, because they're both about to get top level money for their positions, right? So I thought it was interesting that he continues to talk about, he's always talked about, you got to pay your own players. You got to pay your own players. And I think he's shown the propensity to do that over time. Now, when you look at it, what kind of guys have they gotten that they're giving that kind of money to, right? DeForest Buckner, they traded for him, ended up giving him big time money. And then outside of that, for the most part, it's just been quarterbacks that they brought in, right? The Carson Wentz contract, the Matt Ryan contract, gave Phillip Rivers $25 million a year. Jacoby Brissett got $25 million a year. Like, they were trying to nail down the quarterback situation and get somebody that come in and play quarterback on this team. And now that they have a quarterback on a rookie deal, this is the perfect time to finally be able to go out, actually spend some of this money. And yeah, now they're in a situation where they have to pay a bunch of their own guys, but you keep some of these guys in-house. That's what you want to do. You want to keep Michael Pittman Jr. in-house, just like you kept Jonathan Taylor in-house. Okay, if Jonathan Taylor was worth it and what the running back market is, all the free agent running backs this year, right? Colts could have just slapped the franchise tag on Jonathan Taylor. He doesn't, get to really say or do anything about it. And then come back this season and have your pick of the litter. But the Colts like their guy, and it's their guy, so they paid him. So Chris Ballard sounds like he's going to try to work it in a way to where Michael Pittman Jr. can get that long-term deal. So that's what I'll be looking for. I think there's a better chance of a long-term deal than the franchise tag. But then the question becomes, what's that number going to be? And you have to think, like, with the franchise tag being set at 20.7 mil, then I would assume the contract that he signs is going to be above that. So you're looking at it. We had talked before about 3 years, $75 million. So is that going to be the contract? Is that still the number, $25 million, right? That's what A.J. Brown makes, is $25 million. A.J. Brown signed that deal in the past when the salary cap was lower, salary cap going up. It's just how it goes. Deals go up. So are we in a time where Michael Pittman Jr. is going to get $25 million and we're going to call that a good deal, right? Especially when Justin Jefferson signs his deal, however much money he ends up making, right? It's going to be massive. So what we're looking at with Michael Pittman Jr. is anywhere between 22 and $25 million, in my opinion, per year. And the question becomes, is that worth it? Okay, and kind of what I would want to know from you guys is, like, how much is too much for Michael Pittman Jr.? Like, $25 million, is that good? Would you be good with $25 million? What if it was $30 million a year? Okay, with what, again, Justin Jefferson, people talking about him possibly getting up to $40 million a year, $35, $40 million a year. So when you talk about Michael Pittman Jr., you talk about the way the salary cap is now, money keeps going up. Do the Colts give Michael Pittman Jr. $30 million? And is that too much? Do you think it'd be too much for $30 million? And I think, like, at the end of the day, yeah, that just sounds like a lot, especially when you look comparatively at the kind of player that Michael Pittman Jr. is, right? Averages between 10 and 12 yards per catch in his career. So he's not a kind of guy like Tyreek Hill. He's not, or hasn't been for the most part, a guy like Devontae Adams. So should he quite get that? I don't know. He is a solidified number one receiver. I have seen some people talk about, or at least one tweet that said that Michael Pittman Jr. was a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3. That's preposterous. But Michael Pittman Jr. deserves wide receiver 1 money. I just don't know if it's Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill money that he warrants, but he is going to get a big-time contract. I think that's a guarantee at this point. What that number is going to be curious, and we'll see how much of the salary cap he ends up eating up. And there's more, in terms of wide receivers, there was more that Chris Ballard said in this press conference, just like kind of the end-of-season press conference, kind of mimicked himself, where he talked about how they need to make sure they get pieces around Anthony Richardson. And I think that's very telling, with Michael Pittman Jr. set to come back, Josh Downs as our number 1 slot corner, and the different things that he can do. By all accounts, it sounds like Chris Ballard is very invested on the fact that they got to get deeper at wide receiver, and they need to get better at wide receiver, right? He talked about Ashton Doolin coming back and the impact that that's going to have both in the offense with everything that he can do and on special teams and everything that Ashton Doolin brings. There's going to be more competition for Alec Pierce. They plan to do something, and at this point, I feel like there's a good chance that they could end up drafting a wide receiver at 15. For all the talk there's been about drafting an edge rusher or drafting a cornerback at 15, from the most recent comments from Chris Ballard, sounds like they might be thinking wide receiver at 15 if they don't get a guy in free agency, okay? And there's a guy that I'm thinking about that we might go after in free agency, and I'll have a video about him. But tomorrow we're going to talk a little bit about Anthony Richardson and some more comments from Chris Ballard in this press conference, and go over kind of some things that he said and what we could look for going forward. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're subscribed so that you get notified when that video comes out and any more, as we have daily content on this channel. I appreciate you stopping by for another video. And as always, take care of yourself, take care of each other, and go Colts.